there's very few things that are as selfless as coming into law enforcement, into the corrections, coming to a sheriff's office in this day and age.
From the heart of the country in Douglas County, Kansas, this is View from 100, a behind-the-scenes look at law enforcement, community, and the stories that shape our county.
It's an honor and a privilege to serve not just the community, but my community. I mean, I was born and raised here.
Hosted by your sheriff, Jay Armbrister, bringing you insights from the badge and beyond.
All right, well, welcome back to the next episode 9 I'm seeing here of the View from 100 podcast. I've got 2 fantastic guests here with me today, and I'm looking forward to it. Been looking forward to this one for a long time. For those of you who may not have seen this or heard of this before, we call it the View from 100 because I am the sheriff of Douglas County, Jay Armbrister, and my radio number is 100, and the sheriff is always numbered 100. So we hope that maybe the next sheriff, who will be coming sooner than you think, will keep this thing going. But for now, it's my opportunities to speak with community partners and just folks I think are really cool and learn more about who they are, what they do, why they do it, and that kind of stuff. So I will let the ladies introduce themselves, but I have some big wigs from the Bert Nash Community Mental Health Center, and I'll start with Dr. Watkins and tell us who you are. Why are you here? How did you get here? What are you doing? And why do you do it?
Oh, okay. I'm Kirsten Watkins. I am a clinical psychologist, and I am the CEO at Bert Nash Community Mental Health Center. I'm originally from Texas, and I went to a university in Texas, and my now husband was born and raised in Lawrence. He found his way down to this school in Texas.
What school was it?
Southwestern University.
No.
He was the only Kansan there. It's right outside of Austin.
Okay, gotcha.
Only Kansan.
There's no other schools in Austin?
There are many schools in Austin, but Austin is so great, and it was such a great school, and loved being there. And so met the one and only Kansan there. So I like to say that the odds of me ending up in Kansas were pretty small. But I'm so happy to be here. And in fact, some of my family has moved up here from Texas.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
What part of Texas were you from?
Austin.
Oh, from Austin.
Yeah.
So Lawrence is just a small version of home for
Exactly.
you. Okay. So,
exactly.
Yeah, I've always been jealous of Austin because they have those T-shirts that keep Austin weird.
Yes.
And I always think that Lawrence would be perfect to keep Lawrence weird.
Exactly.
Because let's face it, we're weird.
Yeah. All the best parts of Austin, I feel like, are represented in Lawrence. So it's been wonderful to live here. That's what brought me to Lawrence originally, and then what brought me to Bert Nash. I've been a clinical psychologist for years. I worked at the VA, jails and prisons for a while. And I wanted to be a part of the Community Mental Health Center.
Sure.
So I actually cold called them and was like, hey, there's no jobs for a psychologist, but I would like to work for you. And that was almost 5 years ago.
Sure.
Wow.
Well, thank you to whoever answered the phone.
Marsha Page White answered the phone.
Very good. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you. Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for taking your time to do this, but also just thanks for the work you do. We're going to get into all of that stuff, but
Yeah, thank you.
You cool.
Thanks.
She is very cool.
She all right.
She's all right. So I'm Emily Farley. I am the Chief Advancement Officer for the Bert Nash Center. And
what is that title?
That is always the follow-up. So it's really, I have a great team that we work with the public affairs, both internally and externally, marketing, community outreach, health equity, and philanthropy.
Okay.
And so we are advancing Bert Nash forward.
Is there a chief retreating officer?
I wouldn't know.
No. Good.
We all
we would fire him anyways.
Never. But I do think there is a moment where sometimes when you want to advance, sometimes we have to pause and be really strategic and thoughtful of the meaning of the work we're doing. And so my job, I very much enjoy my job.
Good.
But there are days where you fight some challenges, but it's never wavered in terms of like, what am I doing? It's always driven by first the mission of Bert Nash and just my own personal convictions of wanting to do public service.
Yeah.
And so how I got to Bert Nash, I have been in the public health field for 18 years. I went to Baker University,
Yeah.
how you and I have a
That's what I was
connection.
going to say. We know one another.
We know one another very much.
For those of you that are following along at home, she used to babysit my children when she was in high school.
Oh my
so,
gosh.
Yes.
Yes,
didn't know
yeah,
that.
yeah. So, so Baker University was great. I ended up getting a degree in print journalism. Yes, that's also the
I
follow up that I
apologize
get
for
from
that.
that. Daisy. But you know, I didn't want that type of hustle. I really was driven by public service just from growing up, and so I ended up working for the state of Kansas doing public relations. Ended up getting my master's in public administration from KU,
Oh, right on.
and when I graduated with my master's while working for the state, there was some conflicting values of what I had learned and
Sure.
where I was working.
Right.
The work was great, but it just wasn't filling the cup that I
Yeah.
felt was purposeful.
State government is its own animal.
It is. And
Federal government is even a different animal.
Well, and I was kind of teetering on both. So I was doing public health preparedness. So I was working in bioterrorism.
Oh my gosh,
Yes.
really?
Yes. And so the Strategic National Stockpile,
Yeah.
I was helping with in the state of Kansas.
Didn't KU have like a big bio defense something or other
Yes.
that's fairly new or is that K-State? K-State also has something to do with agricultural
Oh yeah, I
biodefense
mean,
or
so
something.
there's a lot of ways to
Okay.
to use different means,
Sure.
but we won't go there.
No,
That's deep and
don't
dark.
tip them off.
That's deep and dark and doomsday. We have enough of that. So, honestly, I was in Colby, Kansas, working, and I saw on LinkedIn a opening for a development specialist, and I'd never fundraised in my life, but I really like people.
Yeah.
And I had known about the Bert Nash Center because of the signature. And as a communications marketing person, I just thought it was so incredibly cool that was the logo.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started exploring more, and I'm like, wait a second. Bert Nash is a mental health center. It serves Baldwin and Lawrence. And at Baker, just my own personal mental health journey, I had my own struggles. And as a Baker student, I could have received services, but I didn't know about Bert Nash.
Right.
And so all of a sudden I got really just like fired up about like people need to know what this is. And so I interviewed for it and back in 2014, and I've been at Bert Nash for 12 years.
Oh man. Wow, 12. That's
Yeah. So it's been a good roller coaster.
Yeah.
But definitely a roller
for
coaster.
sure. Yeah, that's yeah, with few stops.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. That's so. What? How long were you in Colby, Kansas? I mean,
Oh, I was just there
Great
for
rest stop in Colby,
it
Kansas.
is. I
the
mean,
palm trees are really like what brings you
That's right. they
there at
do.
the
That's
gas
the one
station.
that- I didn't know if that was or Oakley. Yeah.
No, it's Colby.
Colby. Okay.
I was there for work.
Colby's
we were
huge
doing
though. I mean, compared to
yeah.
what it was when I was a kid, like
Yeah.
it was a tiny
Yeah.
little spot.
Yeah. Honestly, after Baker, I've lived in Douglas County since really 2004. But Colby, I was just there for work, and I was
Yeah.
in a hotel, and you just always in this with the suitcase traveling,
Sure.
and I
It
just
gets
wanted
old.
something local in Lawrence. It just felt just the drive was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody. It always sounds so romantic to be on the road all the time, traveling and working, and it after about 2 weeks, it's old,
Yeah.
real old. So, so tell me, I know, but tell my mom and the 9 other viewers, what is Bert Nash? How would you explain it to somebody who is not from Douglas County or Lawrence? But also, well, I'll save that. I'll save my follow up for the end. So how would you nutshell Bert Nash and what it is? And I know I'd have to be a very large nutshell, but how would you explain it to somebody who just doesn't understand?
I would say that Bert Nash is a community mental health center that is designed to be a safety net for behavioral health services for an entire community.
Sure.
And the spectrum of all of those behavioral
Right.
health services. So not just one age group, it's all ages, and not just one type of mental health need, it's all of them. And really trying to help the whole person, as we say,
For sure.
receive the care and support they
Yeah.
need in their own community.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a pretty good nutshell.
Yeah. I could say much more. That's the
I'm
the
sure.
smallest
I'm
nutshell.
sure. Well, tell me how many staff? How many people work?
About 320 staff right
Okay,
now. We're
so
much
it's
larger than people
significant.
expect.
Well, people just think it's you go for therapy or
Yeah.
for something, but I think that people don't understand the tendrils that run underground and out into the community and other places. But how many facilities or buildings do you manage or have?
I'm counting in my head right
Yeah.
now. 1, 2,
That's exactly right.
3, 4, 5, 6, technically right now.
Okay, so the main campus there across from the hospital, the TRC. What else you got?
We have Bridges and Transitions, which are transitional and supportive housing.
Right.
We have some staff at a location at 346 Main because we have so many staff.
Sure.
We need some more space. We also have a building that we purchased for the Youth Recovery Center that's in development and is a very important component of our crisis services for youth. That we're hoping to complete in the next couple years. And then right next to that is another building that will house many of our administrative and child and family services staff.
So right next to the Youth Recovery Center?
Right next,
So, okay.
on Clinton Parkway.
You know where Jayhawk Pharmacy is?
Yeah.
In that building.
In that
Okay.
building.
Because I always drive by and I honestly, I mean, let's just, full disclosure, I'm on the Bert Nash board, but I was always curious because there's a couple of buildings. There's the one on the if you're looking out of 23rd Street Brewing patio
Or Hy-Vee right there.
or
Yeah.
Hy-Vee. There's a building to the left and there's one kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
And then I can't remember if there's one in the front, and then there's one way in the back, which is where
There's some
Like a
dermatologists
dermatologist.
back there and
So which
urgent care.
Yeah, which building?
So it's the front two.
Okay.
So there's one that is kind of a pinkish color, and that was an original LMH imaging center.
Yes,
So
yep.
it's zoned for medical, and that would be the youth crisis center.
Okay, gotcha.
The one next to it, which is kind of whitish color, maybe an off-white color,
And that's the one where the
is the
pharmacy
more administrative, and that's where Jayhawk Pharmacy is, and where we'll
totally
have some
gotcha.
administrative staff. Yeah.
And on the YRC, the Youth Recovery Center, will that have inpatient as well as outpatient, or
Yes.
just outpatient?
Inpatient. So the really special thing about it is the vision is to have all of those services for youth in one
Under
setting.
one roof.
So technically the top floor would be crisis services, and that would be very similar to what we have for TRC right now, which is for adults.
Sure.
So a crisis center where youth could come and be able to access services and stay there for a needed time until they're stabilized. And then the bottom floors are the follow-up care for those
Gotcha.
folks. So that outpatient services will be there. That's where individual therapy, group therapy, medication services would all be there in the same building.
Okay. Sounds great.
It's amazing. And our
I mean,
community has
I hope
needed
you have
that.
no work ever because we don't want kids to be in crisis and all that stuff. But and that kind of leads into my next question is, here in Douglas County, I'm constantly telling everybody how proud I am of this community, that we put our money where our mouth is. And we see a need and we fund it ourselves, where this quarter-cent sales tax came up and people demanded, we want this treatment and recovery center, we want mental health services covered. And we did it on our own. But my question to you is, do you know of another community in this state or in the Midwest or in the country, which I'm sure there are, that have the same things that we have, or that we are building between the TRC and YRC, as well as just the overall services that Bert Nash provides? I mean, because it feels really unique and special, but I think sometimes everybody thinks that every community has a Bert Nash, and I don't think that's the truth.
It is not the truth. It is very unique and very special, and our community has, I think, had vision and also had investment in us developing these kinds of services. So for a community our size, there really is no comparison for that breadth and continuum of services. There are sites that we are trying to learn from across the country. I know there's one in Tennessee, there's one in California, there's one in Phoenix, but no one has what we have in our state, certainly.
Yeah.
And it is very unique for a community our size, again, to have such breadth of resources for our community members.
Well, and that's got to create quite an avenue for you to work as far as getting that out to people, but also to help the philanthropy side of things.
Yeah.
I suppose I have a couple of questions, but one of them is like, do we receive much help from outside as far as philanthropic people who just are totally into what we're doing or trying to do here from the outside, who may not live here, may have, connections somehow, but or is it mostly, 95% or more local donors, local people?
It would be the latter. So you're looking in like high 90s of private philanthropy that support the Bert Nash Center.
Sure.
And very much so towards the Youth Recovery Center. So that is, which can be a little challenging in itself, just because the work that's happening here is a ripple effect, right, in mental health. And so we want to really articulate that when someone comes in our door, we're not just helping them, that we are, impacting their family, their employer, their teachers, their teachers, the other children, their peers. So it's really helping articulate that, yes, private philanthropy in our local community is great, but also what we're going to be doing with the Youth Recovery Center will greatly impact the metro. It will greatly impact Topeka and Wichita and Hayes, because those are the communities where there's inpatient hospitalization for children in psychiatric distress. So there's nothing in Douglas County that supports a child in a mental health crisis or a substance use crisis. We have to have them go outside of this community, which then puts on a burden to those communities because those beds now are not available. And many times our community members can't even access those facilities because the beds are not available. So if we can create another system of care, and one that truly stabilizes in a very urgent way. Your question about like, how do you explain what Bert Nash does? So trying to explain that to my 6-year-old and my 9-year-old, it's really about, we get to help people feel better, both with their emotions, about how they're navigating life. So my husband's a first responder. He's a paramedic firefighter. That's very easy for them to understand what they do. And I'm like, I help people's heart and mind, right? Like it's, so when I talk about the Treatment Recovery Center, when it first came online 3 years ago, I told folks it's an urgent care for the mind.
Oh, well.
For youth.
And
for the Youth Recovery Center, that's what we'll do for kids. It's an urgent care for the mind.
Which has been neglected for generations.
Which
I would say.
Yes, and it puts a strain on your system.
Sure.
And
jeez.
justice system and at our local LMH and the emergency department. And again, in those surrounding communities as well. And so philanthropy-wise, we're trying to tell that story. And that can be kind of difficult. I will say we are very fortunate that even the donors that move away, they're still very connected. We have we have about over 600 donors at the Bert Nash Center. Last year, 2025, we saw a 73% increase in private donations because this community saw the need to help us when we were experiencing some challenges because of the demand of mental health in a very complex healthcare system that we continue to navigate.
And I think an understanding in our community that having a behavioral health center in our community is essential. And especially in a time when we were struggling in the last year, the community showed up for us and enabled us to continue to show up.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate that about our community. And in fact, I had a whole other line of thoughts until this, but at the end of the day, and being a member of the board, this was, I know I said it and I've heard it from other board members, at the end of the day, we have to keep these resources flowing. So because no matter what's going on internally, any challenges that we're trying to address, they have to be addressed because we have to keep the services going out the door and the people coming in the door. And I saw that in real time because there was a lot of worry. I mean, let's just say it out loud. The last 12 months have been, and some change, have been stressful and tough. And at times they felt existential for Bert Nash, depending on who you listen to. But I never lost faith in the fact that this was going to get ironed out. We just didn't know what Bert Nash was going to look like after this. And there was worries at the time that people may not support Bert Nash, or they may, but it turns out to be quite the opposite.
Oh, goodness. I mean, very, very much the opposite. And again, this is our community. They're built to support one another.
They are. Money where our mouth is.
You're like very much where you kind of takes your breath away.
Yeah, it's it was extremely humbling, but it was also just kind of heartening in that I learned that people felt the same way I did about it. And so, and I'll admit too, like growing up, born and raised right here in LFK, like I was born and raised, the name Bert Nash was not foreign to me because I played soccer as a child with Bert Nash's grandson.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, and Al and Barb Nash were the parents that were sitting there cheering me on so like I've always known about Bert Nash and but it was just, it was a place for therapy. You know, that's where people went for therapy. I had no idea until I got elected in 2020 and got into office in 21, the depth and the breadth, to steal your word, of the work that that you all do. So you really find out who your friends are when the chips are down. And I came out of that situation feeling much, much better about the relationship between Bert Nash and the community. And also just, I love my community so much. I know the rest of the state doesn't love us the way that I love us, but that's what I love about us, is that we've kind of put up middle fingers at times to be like, you know what, we're going to do this ourselves because we need this. But it also it drives kind of. I hadn't really thought about the youth recovery beds and the fact that we have to send people out. That's been a blind spot of mine until you just said that. And I don't think our community knows that either. And so for us to get into that ball game just makes perfect sense.
Well, you don't know it until you're in that situation. And what an awful time to discover that we don't have the resources locally.
And we're going to send your child to Hayes.
Yeah, and that wherever we send your child to get the support that they need, that location may not know what appropriate follow-up resources are. And there may not be someone to help you with that follow-up care. And you may have a hard time getting to that place and back because of transportation barriers. So again, to have that all here, that is exactly what I think our community members, our youth deserve. And we will make that happen. It's pretty exciting to be a part of that and to have that be the next era for us.
Yeah. And, you know, I was thinking about just the Youth Recovery Center just now with your question about local. I will say 2 large funders, the Miller Group, they're out of Kansas City, and Security Benefit, their main office is Topeka. They do have a satellite at KU Innovation Park. But there are businesses around here that their folks, team members, they live and work here, or they live here, might not work here, but we are going to have to get out and talk and tell that story. Yeah. We are now halfway through our capital campaign. And so in the philanthropy world, we're now in the public phase. So we will start really taking the megaphone and saying, did you know that if your child is in crisis, you know, they might have to wait in the emergency department, and that's no fault to LMH.
No.
And it's no fault to the Treatment and Recovery Center, our program, that we can't have children back there. It's not safe. Yeah. We need to create a safe place. Yep. And we need to also create a very warm and welcoming place, because you don't want to create a scary feeling for that little person.
Yeah, for sure.
Or the teenager to feel like, I'm in trouble. Right. Like, you're not in trouble. Right. We need to make sure, though, that you're safe.
Make sure you're good. Yeah. Well, and I think it's good, too, for the folks here in Lawrence to hear that we're sending folks out, or have been, and we're trying to fix that, because when the TRC was built, and I'm going to, mea culpa, I was one of the people thinking and saying the same thing, is that if we build this, other communities are going to be sending all of their people. And I even said there's going to be a line of police cars from not Lawrence and Douglas County lined up down the street to put people in. And that has not been the case. But the argument at the time was like, they can't do that. They can't take our beds that we pay for and for our people, you know. Turns out that's what we've been doing with our children or for some time. So it just reiterates the fact that we're looking after our own, making it better for the people that you all treat.
Yeah. And also investing in the health of our community as a whole. 100%. So the earlier that we can identify problems and respond to those youth who need or need help, I think the more healthy our community is as a whole, and the more we can help sustain the mental health of our entire community.
Yeah. One last thing I'll say is we had one of our team members, she was sharing her own experience as a mom about her child needing psychiatric emergency care. And she said, this just talks about the early intervention is lasting prevention.
Sure.
And I was like, well, now I'm going to be taking that and using it because that's literally what this is.
Yeah.
Like, if we can get in early, so many things can be preventable. And if not preventable, at least the skills are there to help on, I'm having this moment and it's not just for the child, it's for the family or those that they're around. Like, how can we help support you?
Right.
And not feel like you're by yourself, you're alone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in my own story as a parent, we had a situation where one of my children needed help as well, and she ended up in Topeka at Stormont, and I remember at the time thinking to myself, like, what if we didn't have the means or a reliable car or the ability and that kind of stuff to go over there and do the things that we were just dying to do, to go in and see, hold, hand, all those things. And this is just another way to break down that barrier to allow that, because again, that will have lasting effects, that mom and dad were there, mom was there, dad was there, those things that were there to support those kids when it could have been like, maybe I can't get there, like I can't be there, and that can have devastating effects. So, all right, well.
Or can I say one more thing? The vision I have too is that the provider who will be the follow-up provider, so who will be your therapist after a crisis, would be on the floor right below, so could come up and meet you prior to discharge from a higher level of care and be able to navigate that transition for you. So there's already that kind of setup care before you even complete your stay.
Oh yeah, that's what do you call it? The continuum of care?
Yeah, continuum of care. It's just a really beautiful opportunity to do that.
I've been to fundraisers, I know. Well, and I'm a huge proponent in mental health, especially for first responders. And what I found was that there's a great quote in a book called Turtles All the Way Down, where she says, I couldn't make myself happy, but I could sure make everybody else around me miserable. And what I learned is that I had and I speak only for myself, but I had a way of bringing the temperature in a room down or affecting other people's moods in a household negatively because of the way I was feeling. But I also learned, and that's what we call collateral damage. You don't mean to do it, but it happens. But what I found was when I began working on myself, getting myself better, getting back, everybody around me started getting better as well. And so I thought of the term, it's collateral repair. Like, as you get better, everybody else around you gets better. And it's kind of the same way as if we handle this group of individuals, we'll just talk about youth, handle them in a better way, everything around them is going to get better. Yes. And so that's kind of what you're saying is like, this is not just about standing them back up and making sure that they're good. This is the whole family being better and everything.
Absolutely.
And our whole community system,
and
too.
Which will eventually spread into our schools and spread into their eventual jobs and that kind of stuff. So, okay. Well, thank you. Being the sheriff, I like to tell people I operate the largest mental health facility in this county, but that's probably not true. But the sheriff's office, we run the jail, and so kind of talk through, and I'll talk through my part is about how is it that we intersect as two entities, the Douglas County Sheriff's Office and Bert Nash, and what that has meant for this community and for our incarcerated population over the last, I don't even know what's been 10, 15 years since this has been going on. So how does that look from the Bert Nash perspective? Well,
we integrate in so many ways, and that relationship is really important for so many reasons. Sure. So, first off, we have staff that are embedded in the Douglas County Jail. So we have a number of therapists, licensed mental health therapists that are in the jail to provide those services there. I think that's incredibly important. As I mentioned, someone who worked in jails and prisons previously, to be able to have that expertise in there and to be able to offer those services as quickly as possible and identify needs and help with the transition. I think that's really important for those folks coming out of jail to have some follow-up support for mental health and for other things set up, and that's part of what those folks do is help with that discharge planning. We also are really connected with the probation and parole systems. We obviously are providing treatment for many people and coordinating with those officers to support them continuing their process. And completing whatever requirements that they might have. So that's really important, and also to make sure that they're getting the treatment that they need, and maybe even identifying issues that contribute to them being incarcerated in the first place. So, trying to have some role in decreasing recidivism in that way. I largely with the criminal justice system, we are involved in behavioral health court. That's a really important aspect of helping people recover and navigate through their legal issues. We are participants in the Veterans Treatment Court too. That's a new thing.
Very
that's
new,
really special,
It
and
is.
other communities have had that. So it's really special that our
Right.
community now has a Veterans Treatment Court.
Right.
And obviously the treatment part is often with us and some other community partners too.
Yeah.
I could go on many things. Mobile response team, I'll just say one more.
Yeah.
That's a pretty critical piece.
It's becoming even more critical.
It's very critical, and I think it's really important, our partnership in that. So just for folks who don't know, a mobile response team is a team of mental health providers who go out into the community and respond to crises. And the intention is to support our officers who may be there also, and also to support each other in terms of safety, of making sure that we can address mental health needs in the community.
Well, I mean, and we call it MRT, Mental Health Response Team. They also, and for the folks who don't know, is that the police department will have, or the sheriff's office will have a phone call from a concerned citizen. Hey, a person walked past my house, appeared disheveled, and was yelling and screaming, and nobody was with them. I think we can all agree that law enforcement is not set up or trained to handle that call unless there is some sort of a criminal element that needs to be looked into. And for generations, we were the only people who could respond to that call or felt like we should. And we've seen across the country supremely negative interactions and disastrous outcomes from a mental health call that started as something extremely innocuous, such as yelling at themselves or at somebody else that wasn't there. MRT will now step in and actually respond to that call before or without a law enforcement officer. And if they get there and need help, somebody will be close by, will be able to respond right away. But I'm sure there's numbers out there, but I don't think that happens all that often. I mean, it happens periodically, or the officer will just swing by. But it seems to have been extremely successful in de-escalation, and also to talking these folks into seeking some sort of treatment. They don't put handcuffs on them. They just talk them in like, hey, let's go and I think that you could really benefit from this. Wouldn't you like to go and have someplace cool to sit and think about this, and we can talk through it? And it's been extremely successful. I know that they've had different programs across the country, but this is new to us. I mean, it's really only been up and going 2 years.
It'll be
Almost
4.
4. I mean,
this year it'll be 4. So it was in 2022.
There you go. So it's still relatively new, but I don't know how long it takes for a program to be in place for it to become something that you cannot live without. But 4 years appears to be it, because we don't ever want to go back to the way it was. And that kind of segues into that team that's embedded in our jail. When I worked in the jail in 99 and 2000, it was a brand new building. We had very few cameras, and we had a part-time nurse that came in once a week. I, as a corrections officer or deputy, was the one handing out medications to inmates. Like, we push a little cart around, had a little chart. We gave them the meds, and that's crazy. Like, I'm just a knucklehead, but that's what we had to do. And our nurse was fantastic. Nurse Judy was so awesome, but she was there 6 hours a day, Monday through Friday. When I left and went off to do the other parts of my career and came back, full-time 24/7 nursing staff, and we had Bert Nash team embedded. And those are the two things that they would have to pry from my cold, dead, icy fingers. Like if you came to me today and said, Jay, we can't do this anymore, I'd say, well, you might as well fire those people, because I'm going to hire them myself, and I'm going to figure out how to fund it.
They're great people, by the way. All the people that work there.
But that's like, you would have a fight on your hands to the point where I would steal them from you. And And so they can speak a language that I do not possess.
Yeah.
They can de-escalate a situation that I simply don't know how. They have saved, it's the old theory, like, well, how many lives have seatbelts saved? Well, we don't know because the people didn't die. We can't quantify it. But I'm here to tell you that those ladies and Paul have saved countless lives. And they've saved us. I can't imagine how much pain and agony, resources, money, but maybe lives, we don't know, just by just doing what they do. And sometimes it's as simple as standing at the window and talking to somebody. Or, and I can do that same thing. I can stand there and talk to them. I'm not going to have the same outcome because I just don't possess the skills that they have. So that is one place that I am deeply thankful for my predecessors having stood that program up, but then also for our community, county commissioners and our community to support the funding to continue to do that, because I'm not kidding. I will fight tooth and nail to keep what we have, if not expanded. So that's, but another place that your predecessor Patrick Schmitz actually came to us in early 21 to somewhere where we were suffering under competency evaluation and restoration. Yeah. So for the folks who haven't heard me complain and yell and scream about this, an individual commits a crime in our community, is arrested. They're mentally unhealthy. They go to court. Their attorney says, Your Honor, this person can't assist with their own defense. I believe them to be mentally incompetent, whether that be under the influence of drugs or mental health or a combination of all 9 of them things. And so what will happen is the judge will be like, I agree. I'm going to schedule a competency evaluation. That can only be done by very specific people in very specific places. And at that time, it was taking months to get them to that evaluation. So they go off to the and during those months, we cannot, and I'm looking right into the camera, I cannot force medication. I cannot force people to take medication. It requires a judge signature, a doctor's signature, and a sheriff who is willing to do that. And those 3 things are not typically met. They've never been met in my 28 years. But we would send them to Larned State Hospital or Osawatomie Hospital, and they would get evaluated. The evaluator would say, yes, you're right. This person is incompetent. Here's the medications that we think they should take. Again, I cannot force them to take that. But they would do what they can, and then they put them on a new list for competency restoration. And that is anywhere from 12 to 14 months where this person just sits in our jail and languishes, in my opinion, decompensates almost always, because they're not getting treatment that they need. The medication they will not take, and they just sit, and they are extremely high utilizers of our resources. They're dangerous at times. It's a very difficult, but also their freedom is not moving forward. Their case is not moving. They are in a stasis. The pause button has been held. If you have 180 days to bring that person to trial, this doesn't count towards 180 days. So we as a community were like, how can, and at any given time, I have anywhere from 7 to 14 people on this list that are waiting, some people waiting over a year. And that was where we as a group, the district attorney, Suzanne Valdez, Patrick Schmitz, myself, and doctors from Bert Nash were extremely pivotal in being like, how can we do this as a community? And so we came together. Bert Nash was willing to provide the doctor. The DA and the judges were willing to be partners in signing off on this stuff if we needed to. And then I was willing to let that happen inside our facility. I don't know of another county in this state, much less in the Midwest, that is actually doing that in-house. Maybe there are, but it is an absolute anomaly. And I just don't think that our community sees some of those innovative ways that we are trying to lessen the damage that we have to do to a person by allowing them to just sit and decompensate. So. So that's kind of my thinking to you all is that without a partnership like that, this wouldn't happen. We would simply be sitting out there just watching somebody through a window, making sure they don't hurt themselves or somebody else. And instead, we're able to take the low-hanging fruit, the people who are willing to be medicated, or people who are of a bit more, have more, I don't know, faculties to really try to make that change we're able to lessen that, and we've cut our wait times way down. But also, by taking those people off the list, it's taking that bed and giving it to somebody else on the list ahead of the people who are. So other counties are even thanking us because they're like, I got my person in 8 months because, you know, the 4 beds you saved, you know. So it's been, I think those are the kind of things I want our community to know that happen amongst ourselves, that we find roadblocks with bureaucratic state legislation, federal legislation. But again, this community stops like, why are we waiting on them to fix it? Let's fix it ourselves. And that's been a huge success story. And Bert Nash is a key and pivotal part of that, because without it, like the 3-legged stool, without the courts, Bert Nash, and the jail, that doesn't happen. And so it's been a quiet victory, which you know, people are still in custody. Horrible things have still happened.
That changes lives. I mean,
but it does.
We are in the business of being people, helping other people, and trying to change their lives for the better.
I mean, or do as little harm as possible.
So that's a great example of, I think, people being innovative, being focused on solving problems, collaborating together, being open as partners. I think there's so many examples like that. I'm just really appreciate you bringing up that example, because that it is quiet in the sense that people don't know about that. But it's
until their loved one is on that list.
But it's really significant. That has had very significant ripple effects in many people's lives in a positive way.
Well, in the vein of success stories, like I know there's been some not successes, you know, over the years, but that's part of doing business. But especially over the last year, what do you look back and be like, we nailed that? You know, what are your successes going on right now?
I mean, I could say so many things. Do you want to go first?
Well, no, I mean, I think it's a great loaded question. Yeah. And it's just almost so hard to think about it, because we've had some really great successes.
I mean, I would say from the outset, we survived. Our agency has had a tough go, and for many different reasons. You know, this is a tough time to be providing health care in the context of our state, of our federal system, and we obviously had some changes in the last year. I have been in this position for 9 months now, almost 10.
I was gonna say, no, it's 10.
We were joking. I think I told you earlier. It's like dog years.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Who knows how long it's been? But we survived, and I think one of the interesting things about the last year is that our agency had our 75th anniversary. In the smack in the middle of when things were really challenging for us. And I will say that one of the things that was really noteworthy for me during that time is our agency has sustained so many things over 75 years.
Sure.
And here we are again, continuing to sustain and finding ways to evolve and continue to be focused on the mission and the important work. And we will be around for another 75 years at least. So I think the first answer that comes to mind is that we have survived this last year, and not only just survived, but we are thriving in some ways. The work never stopped. In all of this time, in all of the 75 years, we have provided services on a consistent basis to those folks who needed it most. I am the most proud of that whatever was going on, whatever we were dealing with in board meetings, the work never stopped. Like every day, people were being met in the jails, in schools, in the community, in our clinics, at TRC.
Our wait lists, we didn't have wait. I mean, and if we did have a wait list, it was very, as it was a manageable one. And our staff, they were saying, they were like, what can we do? How can I help? I mean, we had to make some extremely difficult decisions, and we had to change programs. We had to align some programs to be more mission focused. You know, we were, if you will, mission creep on some things, but that's because we want to help. And
we want to do all the things.
But unfortunately, what was happening is while we were trying to help others, we weren't able to help ourselves in some ways. You know, part of this too is we, as a community mental health center, we serve anyone and everyone regardless of where they live, if they can pay, and their diagnosis. We will serve them. When you see a population, I do think the stigma of mental health is less, if
Oh,
you
yeah.
will. More people are like talking about it, everything.
Willing, yep.
But we also are seeing, very frankly, a very sick community,
100%.
physically, mentally.
Well, the
all-
severity and
severity,
complexity of
yes.
symptoms has gotten more significant.
More significant.
Totally
since,
agree.
since COVID.
In my business, I say that crime is down and violence is up, and I think it's kind of similar. Is that and I'll say just from the jail, not only are we seeing the most severe and persistent mentally ill individuals, we are seeing, as far as a number of them, we are seeing the most intensively severe and persistently mentally ill individuals. Like when I was coming up through this agency, we would have people in jail who were dangerous or had done something really bad, but none of them were so unhealthy and unwell to the point where they had to be that you couldn't be around them. Like you just simply couldn't even. You had to take very special precautions. We find ourselves in that position now, where people simply don't know what's going on and they are dangerous for themselves and for the people around them. And I think that has changed. And I have a bevy of opinions on how we got here.
That's a whole other podcast.
Or three.
Yeah.
And but I love what you say too about how the stigma is changing, and I totally agree with that as well. Say what we will about millennials, about their work ethic and whatever it is that these urban legends are about them. They are more prepared to talk about and deal with their mental health than any generation before them. And us, me, Gen Xer, I'm stuck in the middle where I was raised by baby boomers, and we just kind of did what we could to survive because, like my parents didn't know where I was for most of the 80s. And we were kind of self-reliant, but now we're realizing that the old way didn't work. So maybe we need to look at a new way. But then these millennials and the Gen Z and all that, they're like, duh. Why don't we take care of each other? Like, your brain's broke, man.
And I think for us, for the last couple of years, and we were becoming a certified community behavioral health clinic, which had more requirements, criteria for us to meet. And we are that designated agency for Douglas County. I think the successes are through all of that. We are an accredited organization. We have I think about 122 clinically licensed providers from
That's the highest level of licensure.
From nurses, APRNs, psychiatrists, psychologists. It's the gamut. And so we also want to make sure that we retain. We're also one of a large employer.
Right.
We want to be able to retain staff. And so I do think we saw a culture shift too in the last year, a very positive one. And that is my experience. I don't want to speak for all 320.
Sure.
But I do feel, as what I see, it does feel the spirit has a little bit more light to it. At Bert Nash, we are digging deeper and making sure our team members feel heard. How can we help make things better? You have an idea? Let's talk about it.
Sure.
And not that we weren't doing it before, but I just think things can be different with different leadership and different ways to navigate challenges where we get a little scrappy. But we got some grit. We got some scrap, but with really thoughtful meaning behind it. We're not going to rush. Right. We're not going to react. We will react though with a little bit more purpose.
Well, and two things can be true at the same time. We can deeply respect those that came before us and laid this groundwork and foundation
deeply
for what we do, but also being ready to move in a new direction or change some things just to adjust to what our community demands of us, what we're seeing nationally. Just like you said, print newspapers aren't really a thing, as much of a thing anymore. So, you have to adjust and adapt. I always, because I was handed a juggernaut of an agency when I took over. Like, everything was lined out and running, and it's because of the staff that was doing the work. But that didn't mean there weren't things that I saw that I felt like we could just do a little better or do different. And I think it's the same in that. And it's not that the past administrations or the past leadership within Bert Nash was a problem. It was just that things move and change. They're constantly moving and changing. But we always want to pay deep respect to those that came before that, because without them, like I always joke, it's like I got handed this golden egg, and they're like, don't drop it. And I'm like, okay. so that's what our job is to not do no harm, but to try to improve it. And that's exactly what it feels like you've been doing and are doing. So
well, and our mission statement, which has for the 12 years I've been there, has not changed. It is really Bert Nash evolves with the changing environments.
Right.
Yeah.
We do it every day.
Yeah.
We are evolving with our community.
Yeah.
And sometimes our community has to evolve with us.
Sure.
Too.
Yeah.
There are things like the Treatment Recovery Center.
Yeah.
We're the first in the state
Right.
to operate a crisis intervention center. Well, with that comes some lessons learned,
100%.
trials and tribulations, if you will, but also some really life-saving work that's happening.
For sure.
And so the success stories are just so hard to grab just 3 or 2.
Well, I mean, I would say there's so many. You could go on a micro level. Literally every day, I feel like I come across someone who shares a story about how their life was impacted by Bert Nash in a positive way. I was just at an event at KU last week, I think it was, and someone came up to me and told me about how their son was involved in the DBT program years ago, and it changed his life, and she just wanted me to know. And it was like, wow. And then I was at another event, and someone, had another story. So every day there are those kind of stories.
Right.
On a more programmatic level, we are developing programs. We're finessing those programs to continue to evolve and meet the needs. Like we have a new acute care therapy program that allows folks who are in crisis to meet with a licensed therapist, usually within 1 business day. That's amazing.
Right.
Our Treatment and Recovery Center, we just got data from the state that we served more people than any other CIC.
I believe it.
Our crisis center in the state. Our mobile response team is one of the highest utilized mobile response teams in the state.
And that's comparing to Wichita and Kansas City.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
this is really something to be proud of and really special in terms of, again, the breadth and depth of services.
Yeah.
But and then again, on that macro level, like we are surviving and thriving and continuing to evolve. And, I've said this many times, but when times are tough, like a family, people can pull apart or they can pull together.
Right.
And our agency pulled together and we
Mm-hmm.
refocused on the things that make that are the most important for us as an agency, that are the essence of who we are. And I think the role that we play in the community. And we'll continue to pull together and do this.
And I love that that I think it was you said it was a mother came and said that their child was better and doing great because of this one thing.
Yeah.
And I am probably the worst of everybody is to only listening to the negative.
Yeah.
If you listen, if you just if you just read the comment section and
don't do that.
I know I don't. I can't because and I look back on my career in the same way as that the bad shit was 1%, but it's 99% of my memory, and it's hard to try to flex, to move that around and start to see those things. And in that is a huge success story that A, she felt the need to tell, but and then B, that it happened.
Yeah.
But also, even if it hadn't gone well and her son was still struggling, at least her son is still alive, and
Great point.
and that is a victory in and of itself as well. We lose focus and lose sight of the good that gets done because of some of the negative stuff, or just the feelings like we're not doing enough. I mean, nobody's harder on us than ourselves, and so I love hearing that people are recognizing it, but I'm also hoping that you're hearing what they're saying, and letting that drown out the noise of the rest of that.
We do that. I think that's part of the essence of who we are as being in this business to begin with. But we talk in crisis services about how there's no way to account for how many lives we saved.
That's exactly right.
There's no data point
because they didn't die.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just say it because they didn't die, we can't put a check mark.
Right.
Thank heavens we can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the work we do is so meaningful, and we
Right.
don't always hear the success stories,
Sure.
but we know those success stories are happening.
Right.
And I think every day we see little glimmers or indications even of what we know is going to
Sure.
come for people. So
100%.
we cling to that. I, as a
Yeah.
provider, that's
Right.
how I
You
was.
have to.
That's how I did the
It's all
work
you
for so many
have.
years. You cling to
Yeah.
the positive stories and,
Yep.
and the ways in which you know that you had a positive
Sure.
impact on someone's life, even if
Yeah.
it's just a tiny impact.
Yeah.
Well, when people, we had one of the specialty courts, and somebody was like, they only served 6 people last year.
6 lives. That's 6
What-
humans. Yeah.
Give me how much money are you willing? What was each one of those 6 lives worth to you? And give me that dollar amount, and then we'll figure it out and we'll extrapolate it out. Like, but I want you to tell me the dollar amount. And yeah, of course, nobody's going to do that. But when you just look at it in 2D, and you're like, oh, it's just 6 people, and then the courts are seeing thousands of people. Yeah, that's 6 people that had a new lease on life. There, 6 people now have hope that didn't have hope. Now have a family around them. So. I've always been a proponent of helping anybody we can. I use this analogy all the time. It was this little old man would come in every Friday afternoon and buy a 5-pound bag of bird food, and because he liked to feed his birds. And then he stopped coming by, and the guy that owned the store found him one day. He's like, "I haven't seen you forever. What's going on?" He said, "The damn squirrels keep eating all my bird feed." And the store owner says, "But what are the birds eating?" And the old man was like, "Well, I don't know." And I am perfectly happy letting the squirrels take what they're going to take. They're just going to do it. That is the fact of life. If we can still keep feeding the songbirds. And
Wow.
and that's, to me, that is our job. And you cannot quantify it. If we lived our life based on X and Y axis graphs and paragraph, Venn diagrams and all that stuff, like, we're failing in every aspect of our lives. But when you quantify it, and having saved a life, what's that worth? Tell me what it's worth. And so, it's a very weird space that we have to operate in. But that's also how you have to convince yourself that you're still doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Even if the data shows otherwise.
Yeah.
Well, and I think sometimes, and we have a quality improvement director, Tim Nolte, and he is all about the data.
We have lots of data.
Lots and lots.
I'm a baseball fan.
Yeah,
It's all about
yeah.
analytics.
And as a communications person, I can respect it.
Yeah.
I also, though, who's the person behind that data point?
Right.
You're just talking about the 6 people.
Yeah.
So what I love about my job is I get to help that person have a courageous voice and share what their life was like, and what they were able, like, I don't want to say because it's not what Bert Nash is doing. It's what that person is doing, and we're walking alongside them and we're guiding them to what their goal is.
Right.
And so for us, my team in the community engagement world, we get to lift that up, and I get to share it with those clinicians.
Yep.
I get really beautiful handwritten notes that come to us with a donation, or just someone sending us a note, and they're giving something back to Bert Nash, and it's why their why is in there, and I get to hand it to like the mobile response team, and they're like, "Oh, we remember that person. I'm so happy they're doing well."
100%.
Because like probably like you touch someone's life and you go to the next.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And so sometimes I have the pleasure of being like, you want to know how this is going for someone?
Yeah.
And we're like, yes, we
Yes.
do. Please tell us.
And so, on the Bert Nash website, shameless plug, like, we have such beautiful stories of people sharing their experience. There are people that we know. There are people we don't know, but other people know them, right? And so it's kind of like the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, which, by the way, I have met Kevin Bacon, so you're welcome. But I do think there is something about allowing someone to share that experience. It can be a positive, and then sometimes they're interweaved with negatives.
For sure. Yeah.
Like, so they're trying to find their way.
And that's okay too. I do want to acknowledge that we need and want feedback across the spectrum. That's how we get better. And, we have 320 employees, 40 some programs. There's lots of things that we can continue to do better, can continue to evolve. And so that experience, that feedback is important too for us. We obviously love hearing when people are doing well, and that our services impacted them positively. And it's our job to continue to be here and to keep trying to be better.
Yeah. Well, if you could, and this is a question I ask most everybody, is like, if you could whisper into the minds of everybody in this community one thing that you think you want them to know about Bert Nash or about the job you do, but you don't feel like they've heard what is being said, like what would be something that you could just, if you could just sit down and explain to everybody in this community about what you do, what would that be?
Wow. So what went through my brain first was, you are not alone.
No.
We are here for you. We have experienced, highly trained professionals in a spectrum of behavioral health services available to help anyone who seeks treatment. We accept anyone who is coming or who needs help, who comes into our doors. And we have all kinds of methods to support you in getting the treatment that you need. So any barrier that you might have, any fear that you might have, please come and talk to us and we'll help you address that.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, there's nothing else I would really add. That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're here.
Yeah.
And if we're not at the right place, we're going to get you to the right place.
Right.
I think that's also...
It's also our job
It's
to
our
help
job.
you find the next place, or help you find another resource that maybe we don't have.
Yeah.
So that's our job too.
Yeah.
No, I think that's...
There's no harm in reaching out. So reach
Yeah.
out for...
Yeah. I just had a mom share her experience about just walking into Bert Nash for the first time with their young child, and she just said, Bert Nash is the guiding star.
Yeah.
It's like they helped us get to the next part. And that is something that they had no idea what existed.
Sure.
They just walked literally in our doors and started talking.
Can't ask for more than that.
Yeah.
So, okay. What else? Is there anything else that you just feel like the world needs to know, or can I get on to the crazy random questions?
I'm nervous for that. That was blank.
You
on
should be.
here.
that was not
that was like
pre-provided. Crazy question.
Almost by design.
Almost by design.
No, it's super easy.
Let's
What you
go.
got?
We
What
can
you
do
got?
this.
Okay.
We do hard things.
So, I mean, I always have a series of just weird questions, but what movie can you recite from beginning to end?
Grease.
White Christmas.
Wow, really? And what's your favorite quote or part of said movie?
Okay, mine is the song.
I'm embarrassed.
I will
Which
not
song?
sing. I will not sing. It's the sister one where
Yep.
and then also with when Bing Crosby does it with.
The only line from that entire movie that I can remember as a kid, where they were talking about, he was on a phone talking about the price, and he said it was somewhere between ouch and boing.
Boing, yes,
Yeah. That's how my mind works. That's the only thing I remember. Now, Grease, I used to love that movie.
Oh man, I was just telling someone today
you
about
were a pink lady one time for
Halloween.
Halloween.
I was.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
This past Halloween, we dressed up.
Rizzo.
I recorded it off the TV. Remember how you
oh,
like,
there were
the
so
VHS.
I didn't
Oh
learn
my
until
God.
many years later that I missed parts of it. Like there were parts of the movie I had not seen for years and years. Anyways, I mean every part of the movie is amazing.
That's funny you say that, because I had the same thing. I had only watched The Sound of Music up until the German, until they got married. I'm like, it's a love story.
Oh no,
I didn't
sir.
see the part where they're trying to escape Nazi Germany. They're fleeing into the mountains.
Yeah, it took a turn, that
yeah,
one.
it sure did, as it turns out. Yeah, I thought Old Yeller was still alive.
Oh.
So, but what's your favorite part of that movie?
I mean, I gotta say at the end where Sandy comes out, tell me about it, stud, and then John Travolta sings.
My dad was a huge Olivia Newton-John fan.
Oh yeah,
So-
yeah, it's hard not to be.
I admit. So, if you could have a beer or a cup of coffee with anybody, alive or dead, non-family member, they can be famous or not, but somebody you would just love to sit down and talk with, who would that be?
Well, my mom passed away, and I would I would kill for
I'm sure.
an opportunity to have more time with her.
I
so
totally understand that, but
that's the sentimental one.
Yeah.
Gosh, that is such a good question.
Yeah.
Michelle Obama.
I was going to say Barack Obama. Ooh.
Okay, let's get them both. We'll have
that would be amazing.
Oh,
Yes.
goodness.
Oh, that would be, yeah. I mean, agree with him or not, I always thought it would be amazing to sit down and have a beer with George W. Bush.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just to
yes.
hear what actually happened, what was really going on.
He'll tell you, I think, now.
I bet he would. I mean, I'd go sit at a baseball game with him any day of the week. So yeah, no, that'd be a good one.
His daughter went to UT, University of Texas,
right.
by the way,
I
when
mean,
I was in college.
Oh,
and you could tell what fraternity she was hanging out at because
Jenna, there was a Jenna, and there was another one. I can't remember.
Barbara is her
Barbara
twin.
was mom.
Or no.
Barbara was her twin sister,
twin?
or is her twin sister's name? Isn't
Barbara was grandma. That was
Yes, she was named at. Yeah,
that's right.
Jenna was
Laura
the fun
Bush.
one. Went to University of Texas, and you
Good for her.
you could see when the Secret Service would be outside.
I bet so. I bet
funny.
so. What was your first concert? What was your most recent concert? And what was and kids concerts don't count.
Oh,
And what was your
dang it.
favorite?
First concert.
And
Okay, first concert.
an
is
acceptable answer is the same concert for all three, or I've never been to a concert. I will
Oh,
judge
no.
you harshly,
No,
but
not true.
We're fun.
No, not true.
You'd be surprised how many times I've heard that.
Okay, first concert was Beach Boys.
Okay, that seems to be a popular one. I think that was my wife's first one
My
because
parents
their
took me.
parents took
Yeah.
you to.
And
yeah.
John Stamos was the drummer. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Yes.
Look it up.
The
I
actor
swear.
John
Full-
Stamos.
yes.
Oh, I
he
didn't
traveled with the Beach
Oh
Boys.
my
Like in
gosh.
Full House, it was a part of his persona. It was the Beach Boys, and
I just remember that
Yeah.
part. So
Yeah.
Beach Boys was my first concert. Most recent concert was Lyle Lovett and the big band.
He's still alive.
Yeah, this
Oh.
wasn't his best showing.
Well, he's probably yeah.
I've been to many. I
Post
love
Julia
him.
Roberts years, just
Yeah. But the band is amazing. That was a
Sure,
great. I
sure.
think that was the most recent concert. And what was the other question?
Which favorite?
Oh man, I have to think about that for a second.
Yeah.
Maybe we
yeah.
go-
So
go-
mine, I'm pretty sure, besides earlier, I wasn't recording, but Kansas, I've seen several times with my parents. But I think my big concert at whatever T-Mobile used to be called,
Sprint Center.
Bon Jovi,
Oh,
Ooh.
my.
amazing.
Really?
It was we had floor seats.
Oh my goodness.
It was really great. And then recently, Head in the Heart.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to a music festival, Hinterland,
Yeah, I've heard of that.
out in Illinois with my girlfriends. It was right after I had my first kid, and it was a 2-day concert. It was so, maybe it was not even 2 days. It might have been 3. That's all I'll say there.
Yeah, fair.
So fun. But it rained.
Oh,
wow.
wow.
And we had ponchos, and my friend forgot to put her hood up. And so when she went to fill it up, so we call it the poncho of despair.
Yeah.
Oh, of despair.
She was very unhappy.
We'll go right down your neck.
Oh, it was just,
That'd
yeah. And it was summer, so thankfully it wasn't cold, but
Yeah.
it was unpleasant.
Be,
Yeah.
for sure.
But I would say that was my favorite because it was just a multiple day concert
Yeah,
with just
absolutely.
amazing
And
bands.
music festivals are just such a unique experience with the people watching and just
Oh yeah.
the opportunities to do all of these different things, but see some great shows.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah, it's
I'm
very-
with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be my favorite. I know that's a cop out a little bit, but Austin City Limits Music Festival. I've
Yeah.
been many times. and
Really?
every
Oh, that would
time
be so good.
you get to see so many bands that
Yeah.
are so amazing, or discover people that I didn't know about prior.
When I was a kid, Austin City Limits was on. I don't know, it was every Friday night or
Yeah.
Saturday night or whatever it was, and my dad watched it all the time, and
Really?
I was just like, now I wish I would have sat down and watched it with
Now
him
it's
because
pretty cool.
there was amazing artists on there, the Doobie Brothers and all of
Yes.
the, Waylon and all the greats have played that been on that
Yes.
program. So yeah, I bet that would be pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be a part of that
Agreed.
kind of legacy. So.
Agreed.
Well, is there anything else that you feel like the people need to know about, or I didn't ask you about? Or you want to ask me dumb questions? I don't care. But
What's your favorite concert?
well, I don't know. I've been to a lot of them. When I was the summer after my senior year in high school, I've always been kind of a metalhead. I got to go see a show at Sandstone. It will for always be Sandstone to me. But the band White Zombie, not Rob Zombie, White Zombie,
Oh.
played Pantera and Megadeth. And being an 18-year-old boy in the grass, and we were in the grass, that was a pretty significant moment in my life. But no, I've been fortunate enough to see some amazing shows over the last 5 to 10 years, and I got to see Sturgill Simpson at a beautiful venue in St. Louis called the Fox Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And it always reminds me, it was a big version of the Uptown Theater, but it reminds me, I felt like the Muppets like the two old dudes should have been up in the balcony, just talking mad shit on people. It was so good, and it was a great venue and everything. As I've gotten older, I like shows where we sit down. I'm not a Florida guy anymore.
Yeah, I will pay for those tickets.
Start at 7 instead of 9.
Exactly right. Well, this was, and he the ticket said show at 8.
Uh-oh.
He came on at 8.
Oh.
No opening band. Right on
I don't
time.
think
He
I've
played
ever
for
seen
3
that.
hours and he was gone. No encore. No that. I'm like, all right, my man.
I like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, thank you so much for being a part of this. Like I said, those my mom is going to be thrilled to hear about Bert Nash and all the things that you do. But I do think that this is a great long form conversation for people to hear context, not just. I know we have to put out things on social media and that, but it has to be by design so almost surface level and catchy in a tiny little package. Sometimes it's better to just talk about these things, and I think you learn so much more. Like I know I learned a lot today just about what goes on, and I felt like I had a pretty good handle on the place, and I don't.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there's so much to learn. I mean, I've been here for 12 years and I'm still learning things.
well, don't
But
stop.
thank you for inviting us to be here and for your service on the board. And just really what you all do. I do think there's a very special thing about our local law enforcement across Douglas County, locally, and the cities surrounding Lawrence. You all have some really beautiful compassion for folks in their hardest time.
Yep, it's what this community demands, and the work that we do doesn't translate to many other places. And so thank you. I'm learning to say thank you, and so
Great job.
I appreciate that. I really appreciate it because you're right. I get stuck in the negative circle of we're not doing enough. Everybody's pissed at us. What are we? Why are we even doing this? And you find though that just if you watch the news, you think we're at the first step, the first gate, like we're there, like this whole thing is burning down, but then you go and push your cart through Checkers, and everybody's just so polite, glad to be there. They're loving their beautiful little awesome Checkers hometown grocer. Everybody in that building is getting along just great. So we're not falling apart, and we are doing okay locally. And so I have to remind myself that people still like each other for the most part, and we still do pick each other up when we're down. But if you fall into that cycle, it's nothing. It's doom. I mean, it's terrible out there.
Don't read the comments, Jay.
Oh, I can't. I seriously, I can't anymore.
Yeah, but this relationship is another example of that. Like, again, this is humans working together and trying
for
to
common interest.
Yeah, for
humans.
common good and common good for our community. And I also want to say thank you for all you're doing and how your support of us professionally,
Of course,
your collaboration professionally, but also who you are as a person and what you represent.
I support you guys because it serves me.
Yeah.
It makes my job much easier. But no, it's easy. It's easy to say nice things when you mean them, and I find myself constantly talking about how amazing Bert Nash is, and telling other sheriffs and agencies how unfortunate it is that they don't have something like that. So, so that's that. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for giving me an hour and a half of your day or whatever it was. It didn't feel that long. So, but if you ever need anything else, maybe if you have other things coming up or here in a year or two, and you want to come back on and tell my mom about what you're doing next,
we'd love to.
Yeah. So
wait, does Betsy not watch this? Does she
I
not
doubt
listen?
it. No, she works. Besides, I tell her everything anyways.
Well, hi, Jay's mom.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much.